Hello again and welcome to another edition of Suds and Country. Hi, I'm Herb Suds and welcome to the show, my friends. Today, I happen to have cowboy singer, guitarist Don Edwards with me. Welcome to the show.
Herb, thank you.
It's a pleasure to have you here,
Well,
my
thank
friend.
you. I'm tickled to be here.
Don Edwards, historian, author, musicologist, unusually well-versed in cowboy lore and musical traditions, cowboy balladeer, soul of a poet, and singing scholar of the Old West. Is that all true?
I guess it is.
There you go.
Yeah.
Welcome to the show. Let's talk about your music and describe to the audience what you do.
Oh, well, I guess it's just I play the guitar and sing. I'm probably one of the last of the, you know, I guess you'd call it the solo artist tradition. I mean, there's not too many of us left that go out there and just sing the old ballads especially. And it's kind of a lost art, I guess, in a way, the old troubadour style that went back to the 11th century, you know.
Wow.
And it was an amazing thing at the time, and there was a lot of that early on in the 20s and 30s and things like that. Sure, Bradley Kincaid, and there was Eck Robertson and Fiddlin' John Carson, and you know, gosh, there was so many of them, you know, that did that sort of thing. But it seems to be a kind of a dying art. I don't think people want to take it up. They'll go out and get them a band or something and put it together, and they'll go out and play, which is fine too.
Right.
But I don't see many of them taking up the old time solo tradition. I mean, of the old ballads and things. You know?
Those artists you just mentioned, they were basically country artists.
Sure.
Wow.
Oh yeah, like Uncle Dave Macon and people like that. But they were, and so were the cowboy singers. But they weren't as many. There wasn't as many cowboy singers that were household names like the guys in the old time country music. You know, the old Appalachian folk singers and things like that. Carl T. Sprague, Jules Verne Allen, Harry McClintock. You know, Slim Critchlow and people like that are not necessarily household names, you know, but they all have made records and they all have done well. I mean, Carl Sprague was a sure enough working cowboy, came right here to this town, and in 1925 and recorded the first close to 1 million selling record with a real cowboy song, you know, not a Western song, not a composed, you know, a real cowboy song.
Well, in those days, all the artists, they were all on one chart. There was only one chart out there.
Oh yeah,
now it's
that
split up in so many.
You know, oh yeah, now they've got every kind of.
Yeah, right.
I mean, it's, you know, it's.
They dissected that chart.
They really, yeah, really.
Sliced it and diced it.
Yeah. Oh, they sure have. They just. I don't know what they call it. You know, it's. Oh.
How long you been doing this, Don?
Oh, 40-some years.
40-some years.
Yeah, 19. Well, you know, if I look back to my first, like, really professional, getting paid kind of job.
There you go.
You know, it was 1960.
Okay.
So it goes back a long time.
How did you acquire your interest in this type of music and poetry that you do?
I've always been interested in it. I've always had a love for it because I think it goes back. My dad had an extensive record collection, and I went back to that. And subliminally heard some of these things, you know what I mean?
Sure.
Like he played a lot of big band music, and he loved John Philip Sousa, and then he loved Jimmy Rogers and Bob Wills and Sons of the Pioneers, and you know, all that stuff back that were coming out of. He bought those records like in the 30s, you know, and I came along, of course, in 1939. But I listened to that, but that kind of that cowboy and the westerns, I kind of zeroed in on that, you know. I mean, that was kind of the thing that never went away.
How old were you when you decided to go into this music full time?
The full time?
Yeah. Full time.
Oh gosh, I actually started playing like when I was 9.
Okay.
I mean, you know, and I just loved it. But at that time, I knew exactly what I wanted to do.
Wow.
From that time, but I had to offset it with other kinds of jobs. I mean, I played in a lot of bars and traveled around the country just bumming around.
Right. Yeah.
And you could do that in those days. You know, people would be appalled today to think of that. But you know, you could do that then. You know?
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah.
You studied American West and the cowboy way before you put both boots in forward, huh?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. I just loved it, you know, and I my first introduction of it was being a kid that was raised back here in the East.
Boonton, New Jersey.
That's right. I was born there.
You're 50 miles north.
In fact, I was born in the town that Woody Guthrie died in Morristown, New Jersey.
So?
That's where I was physically born.
He died in Morristown.
Woody Guthrie died in Morristown, New Jersey, you know, and in the hospital.
Wow.
And I was born there in 1939. We lived in Boonton. We had a little farm there, and we lived there. And I used to every year or at Christmas time, among other things, I always loved those books of Will James.
Yes.
And kids back in the East got those in the Midwest, down in Texas where I live. They hardly ever heard of him.
Yes.
But because I was a kid raised in the East and also on the West Coast, if you were back in California, Nevada, and that country,
Sure.
you heard a lot about Will James, and he was a sure enough cowboy. Nothing about music or anything, you know, but it was just that little something that made you want to, you know, be a cowboy, you know, go out west. And that's what I did when I was 17 years old. I left and went out west.
I was just going to say, you live the lifestyle that you're singing about.
Yeah.
Pretty much, aren't you?
Oh, yeah. You know, off and on. I consider myself more of a very close observer as I've, you know, I've been out there on ranches and gathered cattle and worked around
Sir.
you know, cattle and horses. And I have that now. I mean, as a small rancher, I do that now. But even back then, there was people with enough sense of humor that could, you know, take a kid that was just starting out and, you know, and let you get out there and get your feet wet, so to speak. But I've always been a close observer of the lifestyle, and I learned it and studied it, and I'm very fortunate to have very good friends who have been and still are working cowboys.
Yeah, that's a rare breed.
Yes, it is. Yeah. Yes, it is, and I totally revere their friendship and their knowledge and what they do. I really do. It's a very important thing to me. That's why I don't call myself a cowboy, because I'm not working, paying wages. I'm not making my wages as a cowboy. I'm playing my guitar.
There you go.
So that's the difference. You know.
And when in the early days you actually lived on a horse, now you're talking about, singing about.
But I'm still doing
there
that.
You go.
To some degree.
You never succumbed to the temptations of presenting a glamorized or romanticized version of the West.
No, that's very true.
You mean to say that John Wayne and Rawhide and Eric Fleming and all those great Western people that we grew up with, that's Hollywood?
Yeah. But I love Jay. Don't get me wrong. I
love them all.
John Wayne. I love them all. I really do.
I do.
Gene Autry, Roy Rogers, the whole deal. Boy, I was totally immersed.
We all grew up with it.
In that, we all grew up with it.
Without a doubt.
But as a kid growing up, I did know the difference between the Hollywood cowboy and the real one. But there were real cowboys in Hollywood. I mean, there was a lot of those guys were. Oh, absolutely. Wow. Tom Mix, Ken Maynard, Art Accord. There was Hoot Gibson. All those guys were real sure enough cowboys.
Okay, but they still played that Hollywood role.
They still play that role, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
When I had R.W. on, he says, it's Hollywood.
It's Hollywood, that's right.
Yeah, that was
well, R.W. is the real deal.
He's the real deal,
yeah, he was a working cowboy for a long time.
We've
been good buddies. R.W. and I have known each other for, gosh, I don't know, 20-some years, I suppose.
R.W. is a great guy.
He's a good guy.
He wants me to come visit him now.
Does he? New Mexico. You need to,
Yeah. When I go
take him up on it.
He wants me to go to Albuquerque this year.
Oh, yeah.
And then he says, when you're there, he says, 3.5 hours, Herb, come visit me.
There you go.
Cimarron.
And he means it. He'd like you to see his place. They got a nice ranch there.
Does he?
Yeah.
I'm looking, maybe I'll do that.
They sure do.
Hey, at what time in your career were you recognized as the real deal when it comes to cowboy music? What time, how long did you establish yourself?
I guess by singing those old-time cowboy songs, I was, you know, one of the very few that really cared about carrying on that tradition, you know, when all these early guys had passed on, and there's not too many left. There's a few here and there, you know, and people say, well, I'll know somebody. Well, that's good. I hope there are. But probably the most visual, real, honest-to-God cowboy singer today that's still doing it is Glenn Orland.
No.
And Glenn Orland he is probably the epitome of a pure, unadulterated cowboy singer that is a sure enough cowboy. I mean, he rodeoed and he cowboyed all through Nevada and California and all that kind of things. And another guy that has been a dear friend is Walt LaRue, a great artist from California, and he's a stuntman in the movies. And he'd cowboyed some and rodeoed and everything, but he also sings and plays in that tradition of the old-time songs and everything. So those guys are about, but you know, they're like me, you know, they're getting up there, you know, and I don't see a lot of youngsters, but I just pray that there are some out there that I haven't heard about yet.
You recorded your first album in 1964.
Right. First record, yeah.
First record.
Yeah,
Tell us about the difference. Was it a 45?
Yeah,
it was an
no, it wasn't an album. No, it wasn't an album. It was only a 45.
Oh, okay.
We did a lot of those back in those days because we couldn't afford to do a whole album full of them. So we did, you know, putting out little 45s and we'd carry them around the radio stations. You know?
Oh, wow.
And back then, radio stations like you do to this day, thank God for people like you, that do that, they still, you know, they would play your record. You just, you know, drive up to a radio station and say, would you play my record? And say, well, let me listen to it. And they'd put it on the turntable and listen to it. And, well, I think that's pretty good. We'll just play that.
There you go.
Put it on the air, right then and there.
Put it right on. I'd do that.
They didn't have, like today, you got 6 people that are dictating what gets heard on the radio. And most of it, to me, is just, industrial homogenous music. I mean, it's not really good. I don't think anyway.
No.
I mean, that's my personal feeling.
I'm
it
not
should be
thrilled
yours,
with it all.
I mean,
But you know, I'm not thrilled with it all. But some of it,
No.
some of it's pretty good. Some of it
well,
out
there's
there
not.
is decent
There's
stuff.
oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Some gets through.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But for the most part, I don't. I don't get much inspiration from it.
On a radio show,
They do it for the money.
On a radio show, I go back to a lot of the older stuff. You know, I play all the classics.
And people
stuff
love
like
that
I
stuff.
know it.
They really do.
You don't hear it.
There's small stations around the country that still play that, and they still play us even, and we coexist with some of the mainstream, you know. But it's mostly the stations that play like the classics, you know, like the old country stuff that still to this day is great.
How has your record changed from 1964 to what you're doing today?
How has it changed?
How's it changed? How did you progress, and what's the difference from that first 45 to your writing and to your...
Oh, of course, you hope you progress. You know, you hope you don't go the other way, you know.
Of course.
But,
what's the audience? What would the audience see different?
They would see, I think, more mature artists. I hope, but my whole idea of it, as I get further into it, I get deeper into it, and so I think there's more substance in what you're doing. You know, early on, like my first record I was emulating Marty Robbins a lot because he was a big influence to me. You know, and so my first record, called The Young Ranger, was very much in relation to his like El Paso and things like that.
Great song. Oh my God.
You know, and so I did kind of take after him, but I finally got wings and got my own style, you know, and what I do. But I had lots of influences. I mean, from Marty to Jimmy Rogers to Blind Lemon Jefferson to you. I mean, you name it. Those are the influences I had. Gene Autry and everybody, you know. So,
you have a songbook out. You have tell us about the songbook and tell us about your ballads and all that kind of stuff.
I put out a little songbook of cowboy songs and like they used to do the old folios and things.
Sure.
This is not an academic work like, you know, John Lomax or Jim Bob Tinsley or Doug Green or anybody like that is doing a real academic work of it. It isn't meant to be that. It's a songbook of songs for people to actually play.
Right.
It's got music in it. It's got tablature in it for people that don't read the music. But it's the melody of the song. The melody is in there, just the basic melody. And it may or may not be the way I do it on a certain given day. Okay? And so you can't, I don't do it like a songbook of, say, some great guitar player who does, you know, puts all his hot licks in it and everything, you know, that kind of thing. So you can embellish it the way you want to, you know, and I kind of left it like that. And it's done very well. And it's called Saddle Songs. And it's got most of the old-time songs and stuff that I've written myself.
Where's it available at?
Most anywhere, DonEdwardsMusic.com.
There you go. That's your website?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I
mean, I am computer illiterate, you know, so
DonEdwards.com, huh?
Yeah, Don Edwards Music.
Oh, DonEdwardsMusic.com.
Right, yeah.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
You presented seminars at Yale, Rice, Texas Christian, and some other schools.
Yep.
What are the seminars about?
I do, they're considered to be workshops, and it gives me a chance to say, I think that if I'm teaching someone to play this music, I always kind of hesitated away from it because I said, well, maybe I haven't got enough to offer as a musician. I'm not putting down my musicianship, but I'm just saying maybe I've got more to offer if I include the history of it, because without the history, without the knowledge of it, it's not that you can't physically play it, but I don't think you can get the heart and soul into it without knowing what you're singing about.
True.
And so in a workshop, I've got time to talk about the songs and talk about how it's played and where that type of playing comes from and the roots of all these songs and where they came from and the tradition of the ballads, the tradition of the solo artist. It's an art form in itself.
True.
Whereas you play differently if you're in a band configuration
without a doubt.
or if you're by yourself. So you embellish your playing by accompanying yourself and things like that. So that's basically what I teach in my workshops.
Movies, Horse Whispers.
Yeah.
With Robert Redford.
Oh, yeah.
1997.
That's right.
There you go.
Yeah. I was in that. Yep, sang 2 songs.
Okay.
They got kind of edited here and there a little bit, so they wasn't as long as they were in the original cut of those movies. But since I have done the Horse Whisperer, since I was in it, my songs have been in 2 more motion pictures. One of them was Silver City.
Okay.
With Richard Dreyfuss and Chris Christopherson. They took my version of Colorado Trail, played it in its entirety in the movie, and currently, if you're going to be on currently.
Yeah, we're trying.
Okay. Well, right here in Lincoln Center,
all right,
at the movie theater, is a movie called Grizzly Man.
Okay.
Okay, it's got these tremendous reviews, and my song, the Coyote song, is in that.
Wow.
Is in that movie.
Wow.
And it's playing as we speak. It just opened.
Okay.
to rave reviews.
Wow.
Yeah, they gave 2 thumbs up.
Good, there you
yeah,
go.
but it's a documentary about a guy in Alaska and his girlfriend. They were studying the grizzlies.
Yeah.
And they got eaten by the grizzlies. Ooh. The 2 of them. I mean, it's a grizzly story.
Grizzly story. Yeah, you got it. Sure. No pun intended.
But no, it really isn't.
Right.
And but it's a wonderfully done film, and you don't know where your music goes. Well, lo and behold, they got in contact with us. Wow, they tracked it down and found out that I sang that song about the coyotes because it was his favorite song. He said he sung it everywhere he went. He'd be there studying those bears, and he'd be singing that woo yip woo yip woo. You know he'd be doing that.
Yeah.
And so you never know where it goes. So you just one of those things.
Performance, Nancy Griffith award-winning video, Other Voices, Other Rooms.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Sure, you bet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you got Golden Boot Awards, WMA.
Yeah,
and you got
5 times in a row.
And you got Walkway of Stars.
Yeah,
in Newhall,
California.
And Santa Clarita.
Yes, I have. I'm very proud of that.
Yeah, that is.
Yeah, me and Richard Farnsworth actually got that, and Peter Brown.
Yep, Peter Brown.
Yeah, it was wonderful. And also we have a record that was nominated for a Grammy, the first time ever for cowboy music.
I read that someplace. Here it is. First time ever nominated for a Grammy.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. How about the cowboy poetry gatherings in Nevada? That gave you a little. That gave you a little more.
Absolutely.
Exposure.
Cowboy music, what I was doing, the cowboy folk music, was a part of American folk music. Always has been, always will be.
Right.
But it just was something that we did as for a lack of anything to call us, folk singers.
Sure.
Like Ramblin' Jack Elliott and people like that. We were singing folk music basically. So the cowboy music was always in there. People did. The Carter family sang cowboy songs. The Delmore brothers sang country cowboy songs. Always, it was part of the music, you know. But when Elko came along, it was this unbelievable awareness of cowboy music and cowboy poetry, of the working cowboy, the real cowboy music.
Mm-hmm.
And this awareness was brought about and gave me an entire new career. I mean, I have to thank Elko, my friends Waddy Mitchell, an artist by the name of Gary Morton, a great friend of ours, Hal Cannon with the Western Folk Life, that was one of the founders of it. I might probably be still singing in bars.
That was a big move for you.
It was a huge move, and it was a huge movement for this kind of music. It really was. It was the most major one.
2 albums in the folklore archives in the Library of Congress.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's great. I mean, they've collected lots of people in there, but I'm proud to be part of that.
And Western Jubilee Recording, you're part of that deal too, with 32 songs, 2 CDs.
Yeah, I've done 2 albums. Well, I've done lots of albums, but the cowboy songs ones that I've done that are more archival are Saddle Songs 1 and Saddle Songs 2. They're double CD sets, you know, and it was something that was. I accumulate all these songs and then you record them, you know, and so we kind of put those out as collections, as I would say, you know.
Peter Rowan, how did you mix in with bluegrass?
Pete and I have been friends a long time. When Michael Martin Murphey was doing the West Fest, he had these great West Fests.
Oh, wow, sure.
And they were just magical, wonderful years, and a great association with Michael and a lot of the artists that we'd met. And Peter was one of those. And we got together. We were all playing Rocky Grass in Colorado, and we'd always wanted to make a record together, and so we had this opportunity. So Norman Blake and Tony Rice, Pete Rowan, and myself, we did this thing. And it was just, I was trying to prove the point that not just bluegrass, but old-time music, incorporated even in part of some of the bluegrass music and the cowboy music, it all was kin. It all comes together in some place. It's it's the same, different branches of the same tree, you know? And it all comes together at some point in time. But no, it seemed as though nobody understood that for some reason. They were always trying to separate and categorize, you know? Well, if it ain't straight ahead bluegrass, it ain't no good. Or if it ain't true Western music, it ain't no good.
Throw it out.
You know, throw it out. But so we did that, and lo and behold, we got nominated for a Grammy. I mean, it was unbelievable. And they actually, I'm not trying to say that I'm like bragging on accolades, which is not what I care about at all. But the beauty of it is that they actually recognized this music as being traditional folk music.
Wow.
And that's the category it was. And I was proud of that.
Yeah, nothing wrong with
that. They actually admitted that, you know, and it was great.
We got to wrap up here because we're running out of time.
Well, we're running out of time. I don't know.
I just want to let you know, Don Edwards is international. Canada, Great Britain, Ireland, New Zealand, Europe, Far East,
Wherever they'll have.
There we go.
Yeah.
You're gonna go, huh?
Wherever they'll have cowboy music, Herb. we'll go there.
DonEdwardsmusic.com.
That's it.
There you go.
And thank you, Herb.
Thank
Appreciate
you very much.